impact doesn't pay the bills, in its actual sense. And one thing I also got to learn very early on is that virtue doesn't necessarily sell. Dopamine does.
It's like, how much do you really believe in this thing that you are doing, right? So I think that there's no one who wants to create like anything meaningful who would not need to like put in your own money.
If you want to change the world, somebody has to pay for it. And getting people's buying into your idea, into a vision that you're selling, it is very important. So the switch happened when I found the actual language to tell the story of impact. Because at the end of the day, you're selling something.
Hello, everybody. Are you excited? If you've learned something today, say Nepo baby. If you've not learned anything, say Lapo baby. If you've learned how to, some of us are Lapo babies, but we know that we cannot be Nepo babies anymore. But our goal is to create a life where our children can be Nepo babies. So if you know that you've learned something very helpful, say Naira Live. Thank you. A round of applause for yourself. If you and your friend, you've come together, pack your old books to distribute to secondary school, say I. Great. If you've packed your old clothes, call your friend, raise 5,000 Naira, I wanted to say dollars, but 5,000 Naira in 50 places to provide kids that do not have clothes, say hello. Great. A round of applause for yourself. So you've done social good. So that's like my starting question. What exactly is social good? And you can go first.
So for me, social good, because the work I do is not necessarily like non-profit.
Yeah.
I think social good is even in enterprise, seeing how things can be better, seeing like how things can be done with like more intention for the customer, for the communities, for like enterprise, right? Yeah. And then putting like all of that intention into like how products are created, like how services are delivered, is also social good.
Yeah. Social good and social enterprise, if there is a difference at all.
So, the difference between social good and social enterprise. I think I'll first start with the mindset, that is required to understand how to use your business or whatever talents or ideas that you have for the greater good, is understanding that whatever businesses we're building, like just personal success or profit, doesn't necessarily insulate us from, societal failure. So in whatever capacity we're building an idea for the world, it has to be an integral part of it, that how does this benefit other people, right? And you have to constantly optimize for what is impactful first, rather than what is just profitable. And it's always going to be an interesting conflict. But a social enterprise really it's a business that is designed to create impact, right? And the lines can be a bit blurred. Maybe you have to start out with one first and eventually evolve into the other one.
Great. Okay. Right. So people romanticize, I watch your interviews and I read a lot about your interviews, and people want to be you. But does impact pay the bills? NGO funders, this is your
maybe,
time.
Maybe if you had asked me this a couple of years ago, it would have been a very easy no. But now,
straight up answer.
I think impact doesn't pay the bills, in its actual sense. And one thing I also got to learn very early on is that virtue doesn't necessarily sell. Dopamine does. So, for example, one of the challenges we had, right, was that, okay, I was doing this thing that was quite unconventional. So I had to first understand what my language of storytelling was going to be. I remember joining Twitter in 2020, and I was just basically clueless on how to use it, right? So I was just an observer. I never tweeted anything. I just would read what other people would say. But then I was already doing the Chess and Slums project. So for me, it was something that I considered my life's work. But then I was still fixated on what the cognitive benefits were. And chess, because it's a very complex game, so I was like very fixated on, okay, this is how chess grows dendrites on both sides of the brain. Mm-hmm. This is the benefit to the kids and how it helps improve cognition, critical thinking. but nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about chess.
How
My
does
friend
it
used to
taste?
say that watching people play chess is like watching paint dry on the wall, and
That's
so
just cruel.
something had to change. And I think that would it is what I would consider like a true inflection point for chess and slums. It's yes, in a world that is constantly like fed with all of the frivolous things, there's all of the other things on social media. There's very little space for like social good to be heard, right? And even more so when you're sort of like pursuing novelty, you're doing something that isn't clear to people. So you need to really understand what your language of storytelling is, because if you want to change the world, somebody has to pay for it. And getting people's buying into your idea, into a vision that you're selling, it is very important. So the switch happened when I found the actual language to tell the story of impact. Because at the end of the day, you're selling something. It's not a physical product. It's not a service. You're selling a vision of the world, right? And as long as you have believers that are going to pay for it, then you have a true movement, because that is what makes any idea complete, that other people can find a place in it. So at the beginning, of course, you're not going to make anything, and you probably shouldn't even optimize for that, but maybe at some point, if people can really hear what you're trying to communicate, then there might be some pathways for you to actually make money from it.
Fascinating. I think that one of the most intriguing thing you said was that if you're going to change the world, some people have to pay for it. So Remi, I'm going to come to you. Same question. Does impact and your change pay the bills now?
I think that definitely you can build for impact and still secure the bag, but you have to sort
Did
of
you
like,
hear that? Please say it again. Let them hear the back.
So I think that you can build for impact and still secure the bag, but you have to build with both in mind,
Okay.
like from day one, right?
Okay.
In my opinion. So I didn't really get a chance to introduce my company, but
Please do. Go ahead. It's your stage.
yeah. So I'm building a very like ambitious company where our goal is that we are a R&D company at heart, and our goal is that the future of extensions is zero human hair, right? So we want to create this one product that people can use to do anything, like women can use to do anything and get the same performance as like human hair, right? And it's like a journey for us, but like within like us committing to that journey, we are doing like things as we grow. So we are like creating like the first generation of like our product, and we are trying to also ensure that it's not just like, oh, we really like vibe with this company, we believe in your mission. We're also creating like a product that people can already use, right? So building for both is sort of like, oh, there's a product that people actually need. So we're not going to people and saying, oh, because we have this vision, because we have this thing, please support us. It's like, oh, this is what you can actually do with the product. Like this thing is actually tangible, like it's this and that, and then customers are like buying into that because like they can also see it. So for me, it's like yes, impact, but you need to also design, the company to like
Pay the
be able
bills.
to be profitable. Yeah.
Up women. Let me know myself. I say people something about Nigerian women. Thank you. Great. I think that what's exciting about this conversation so far is that even though both of you are coming from these different angles, there is an intersection. And if you think it's been a great conversation so far, please give them a round of applause. Thank you. So I'm going to add an interesting question. Mr. Tunde posted a picture of himself 10 years ago. Please don't do that again. and the question is, before, the Forbes and the applause and the Guinness Book of Record, what did success look like for you? And then now that you are here, what does success look like for you? Anybody can go first.
So when you start out, and like I said earlier, like when you set out to take the road less traveled, you want to do something that where you're going to face a lot of resistance at first. And for me, it was, chess, slums, it didn't make any sense. And someone asked me the question that, how would chess put food on the table?
Very important.
And I didn't have the answer to that, but I knew that the best way to empower anyone really is to show them something about themselves that they do not see or they do not know, and just enable them with this conviction to pursue it. And that for me was how I understood, the talents that I had. So my talent was chess. I could do it better than most people in the world, right? But by teaching it to the child, it becomes such a valuable gift to them, right? And so I was pretty convinced that if we can do that, it would show the world at the very least that these children that we have forgotten as a society, they can also be intellectually inclined, that they can show capacity for thinking. So the only gap here was the opportunities that they don't get. So I felt like with my own talent, I could stand in that gap by teaching the kids and showing the world their ability. And when we can marry both, people will see them for the potential that they have rather than just be too hyper-fixated on the poverty. So when you set out to do something like that, it's always going to be extremely hard. So you need to find a very simple metric to define success for yourself. Yeah. So for me, it was just taking the kids from 0 to 1. Of course, I didn't know how it was going to put food on the table. I knew, of course, if you invest in their minds and they grow up, they get to be more independent, make their own choices. And a lot of the lessons from chess would help them make better choices, And it was hard. But then something as simple as when we're doing like a class with the kids, then I remember there was this boy, Levinus. I just brought him from the village. So he joined our session. He couldn't speak English. But after some time, I remember we're doing group analysis together, and it was like, oh, Uncle Tunde, you have to play a prophylactic move here. And I just looked at him like this, prophylactic move. Like, what do you know that is prophylactic move? He said, oh, you said prophylaxis, and that stayed with him. And that meant so much to me because it's hard to like measure immediately what the impact is in the minds of the kids. But that for me was success, right? And that became like a clear marker for me, right? And I always knew that it was only a matter of time before the world would catch up to it. But the project, the idea was already successful those 10 years ago when we had started because it was validated in the lives of the children that we're directly working with. And for anyone that is also starting out, you must reduce it to that very simple metric that if what I'm doing has a desired outcome in the life of one person, and how people use my product or in whatever capacity, then that is enough. Then with time, the world catches up to it. Now it's a bit more, it has evolved, a little more. Now I'm a lot more ambitious. And I read something yesterday about not doing things at scale. Right, like at the very beginning, keep it from 0 to 1. And when the time comes, when you've walked much farther down the line, then you see what scale means. So now we're just trying to scale and reach more children. That's it.
No, that's encompassing. And I'm going to come back to your ambition. But 1 minute, 300,000 products sold across the globe. Yeah, did you say that when you started and like where you are now? Is success still endurance?
I didn't really like get into business and like get into this like instantly, right?
It was R&D.
No, not really. So for me, first of all, I've always been obsessed with hair extensions, like beyond the normal person, and not even like from like the aesthetic lens of things. Like not really, like I love the looks, but beyond the looks, it's like, oh, how is this being made? Like in uni, I wanted to have like my own braiding hair texture, and I just kept going on this thing where I'm like, oh, I'm going to innovate this. But for me, like, even when I was just like importing hair and just selling hair extensions, I wasn't selling like just like everyone else. I looked around me and I'm like, oh, there wasn't really like textured hair extension that I could just buy and it to just like blend with my hair instantly. So I said, you know what? Before I go into the business, I'm going to start an Instagram blog, right? So I started this Instagram blog and it was like, I would post like inspiration of Black women wearing those kind of hairs. And I wanted to use it to sort of like validate if there was actually like a need for it, right? If it's not just me thinking that, oh, there are other people like me. But starting that page like quickly validated it because people would then DM me and say, oh, this hair you posted to a Savage wearing, are you selling it? Or
they could connect with
exactly.
The content.
And then, when we launched the business of like just selling the hair extension, it was like a hit. And like that went on to 30,000 and all of that. So if there's going to be a country where like thousands of people with deep knowledge, so the way you think of like leather goods and like Italy, scaling anything production and like China, we actually should be able to do that because it's like mostly like manual work, right? So for me, it's like just like this gradual trail of my obsession leading me to the path of this big thing is something I want to do, and it's actually something that is scalable, right? So I feel like when you have like an obsession with something, it's easier for you to like find your path. And I like think of like Tunde, that's like the same thing. With him just being like this chess person that it probably didn't even make sense to people around him, but it's now possible for him to use it for social good because it was just like an obsession first before anything. So for me, like that's just like the path.
Interesting. And I think the one thing I take away from both of your responses is one, the role of like education and passion and finding enough knowledge about what you do. And the second is just creating awareness. And I think that if you're in like social impact, social enterprise, there's a huge, huge role that creating awareness of any form of kind plays. And I'm very sure today agrees with me. Great. Okay, so we are here to talk about money. Everybody say money. Say dollar, pounds, say naira, so that they will not be like we don't get our currency. Say naira. Say Naira Life. Okay, great. I'm gonna pick on today a lot, and he knows why. Today posted a tweet not so recently now, where he said, how can you become a billionaire? Right? And everyone started dragging him. Mr. Chess is not wants to taste money. And the question is this. There is a lens that the society used to look at people doing a social impact or social enterprise. How do you balance the desire for ambition, which is a good thing, with the desire for driving the social impact, which is why you started this thing?
Okay, really good question.
Thank you.
I see some of the people that drag me on Twitter. I see some of them here as well.
All of you. We are seeing 3Ds.
But it's interesting because when I did that interview, it was a while back, and it was the first time I ever said something like that. And what I said was I wanted to build $1 billion, business.
Okay.
And
see, it's $1 billion business. Yeah. It's not Tunde Onakoya's money.
But of course, things can be very easily taken out of context. But the thing is, it's been 10 years of building church and slums, and it's been the most meaningful thing that I've ever done in my life. It's entirely my life's work. And a lot of people don't understand my personal connection to this work. It's because I actually grew up in the slums myself. I grew up in the slums of Ikorodu, and church gave me a lifeline. And 10 years ago, I made the decision that I was going to use the single talents, that I had, and I was going to give it back to other children like me as a gift. Now, when we think about social good, it's easy to just look at through the lens of like, NGO, charity, that kind of thing. But that is not what social good is. In fact, I would say that you can actually create a lot more impact by having like a for-profit business than actually having a charity organization. This is the truth. And I wouldn't like to use my own, perceived success as an example. Yes, Church and Slums has gotten a lot of recognition, and we've done a lot of really impactful work. But then my case is out of the outlier, right? And it's not what is truth for a lot of other people that are still struggling, that are trying to do something just to
education.
Because it is easy to have a heart for the poor, for the common man to want to do good, but it is extremely hard to have a mind for the poor. So I think that is where the shift has to happen, that whatever, altruistic ideas you have, it has to be effectively delivered so you can get results. So you're not just positioning to be doing good with very minimal impact, and you're just wasting your time, right? So Church and Slum started with a novel idea, which we pursued for 10 years. And now we've gotten to a point where we have to scale, right? And scale means that me, as a person now, there's very little I can do in an individual capacity for the children, right? We have chess teachers that are much better than me. We have educators. We built a hub, for the children, and the children can already, build robots that play chess. They do a lot of interest. They do like serious, really good graphics design, a lot of other things outside chess. We sponsor the education of thousands of children every year. We took some of the kids to America recently. Some of them are going to Budapest.
People should be clapping.
We're doing a lot of things at scale. So my single responsibility now is to ensure that we don't run out of money.
Yeah.
Right? Everything else, other people can do it. Right? So, and it's such a huge burden for me because I now exist in this very interesting paradox where I'm somewhat of a celebrity now because of the world record.
You are not somewhat, you are a celebrity.
But I still have, my day job, which is when I go back to the hub now, I remove my filler. The children don't know me as chess master, like Uncle Tunde. Right. So that has really sort of like changed my understanding of a lot of things. To see that to really scale the impact that I want to see in the world, I have to be able to pay for it as well. So which is why we're sort of like branching into a proper social enterprise now that can now do two things on both ends of the spectrum, products and services. So the first thing I did, was I designed a chessboard using our direct patterns, and we sold it.
That
We
was
marked up
very
the price. Yeah. So that was the first expression of it.
Thank you.
And we sold out in like 5 hours on Twitter. Of course, they dragged me afterwards, but we also so we recently did, some work with Duolingo as well. Now you can play chess on Duolingo now, by the way.
Yes.
And so I'm sort of like venturing into all of these things because I know that the kids that will continue to serve, they will never be able to pay for, what we're trying to change, the education. We pay tuition for almost 1,000 kids every year, amongst other things. So it's like the elites have the responsibility to pay for this impact. But then if you're not creating value for them in terms of a product or a service, then you're not going to be able to redistribute wealth effectively. Donations is never sustainable. Even more so now that there's a lot of apathy. And it's also easy for people to color you through the lens of, it's NGOs are always stealing and all of that. So it's really hard because it doesn't scale and it's not sustainable. But by building actual value, $1 billion business, come on, you've known Tunde as the chess guy. Imagine me as a billionaire now. Imagine how much more I could do. So that is the journey I'm on now.
Look, that's very encompassing. Very round of applause for him. And I love that you kept on emphasizing on value, structure, and that a art for helping the poor is different from a mind for helping the poor. I thought that was very profound. Quotable quotes. Okay, what do you think is the random thing people have Googled about you? What do you think is the most random thing people have Googled about you?
I think that, so first of all, I am not really like at the center of my business.
Okay, so you don't think people know you?
No, people do. People do. Some people
do. Do you think that now the ambition to be like $1 million company is sort of clouding the goal to get to zero?
No. I think that's actually like the outcome of it.
Okay.
Right?
So you think that they are
so like the vision is the mission rather is to like build the future of extensions with zero human error.
Okay.
The outcome of doing that is that we're going to build a really and they're all going to
Amen.
right?
Yeah, so and I think that the takeaway is really that you're doing a social good does not mean that you should think poverty. Uplai wasabi.
Yeah.
Poverty, not poverty, poverty. Yeah, I think it's very important that we really have an abundance mindset and to think that to change our mentality about the fact that people in social enterprise should be poor or should look poor. I think that's very important. Okay, so we are in a money conference and I'm very sure that there are a lot of NGO funders. NGO funders in the building, say hi. Socialpreneurs, social enterprise. So I'm asking this question on their behalf. How do they get funding? And you can go first.
So I think that getting funding for like a business, first of all, like we're primarily bootstrapped. I mean, I said that I was...
Again, up women, up Nigeria women.
Yeah, so personally, like I was selling hair as a merchant for like 4 or 5 years. So we made like a decent amount of money that we could. So, I mean, we had some money that we could put into like all of this vision, right? Like the business before becoming TSL was like just selling products from like China, India, and all of that. So I was delusional enough to say, you know what? I can put in money that this business has made into the R&D of like creating this thing, right? And even in like establishing like TSL, I've still had to like put in more money. It's like, how much do you really believe in this thing that you are doing, right? So I think that there's no one who wants to create like anything meaningful who would not need to like put in your own money in that thing. Like if you're going to tell people that come and invest in...
that again. You cannot create anything meaningful without you putting your own money. Yes, your money.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like just sweat equity, right? But if you really believe in something, like investors are not really like investing in you if like you're not really putting any of your own money. So we've put the business money. I've put my own personal money, like a sizable amount of money, like into creating all of these things. But there's also like people that believe in you, right? So like we had angel investors, like even like just sharing the story about the company, like a lot of women get what we are building, like even some men as well. Like I have men that are like angel investors. They understand it. Like it's easier to even sell like your vision to like people who just believe in you versus like traditional VCs who are like, you know what, yeah, I get the whole thing you're saying, but like put pen to paper and all of these things. So yes, like finding people who believe in you who also happen to have money to like put into the business. And also, like, if you're building a product where the upsides is really clear, you can go to people and ask for investment. I mean, they might not give you, but it's like if there's like a clear upside. So even though we have like this mission, there's also these products that we are building to say that, you know what, forget about the global market. In Nigeria alone, over 13 million women use some form of hair extensions alone. That's like numbers, right? The global hair extension market is this billion valuation. And is this product really something that can do what you say it will do? Like, what does your MVP even look like? So I think it's that, what do you have at hand? How much of your own money have you put into it? Like, how much have you committed in terms of like your own time, like your own passion, like all of these things? And then finding the right, maybe kind of investors, because like all investors are not also like for like mission-based stuff. And then finding the right investors to talk to about what you are building.
No, that's very helpful. And alongside everything she said, selling value, selling numbers, telling the percentage of the market that you can capture with your social good, very important. Tunde, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, just to just add to what she said earlier. So the greatest leverage you'd have, because when people come to me now and they say, "Oh, Tunde, please, I need this. Can you help me with this?" The first thing I always look out for is like, how much have you paid for this yourself? So it's easier to ask someone to go to make an ask when you're saying, "Sir, this is what I have already done. Now this is what I need to do, man." Rather than to go and say, "This is what I want to do." If you say, "This is what I want to do," then you haven't paid the ultimate price or given the ultimate sacrifice, to what you want to see in the world. So I don't believe you enough to feel compelled to even want to help you. And for non-profit founders, you've chosen a very difficult path. So the first thing I'll tell you is be very ambitious. And I won't say be ambitious that, want to make money or any of that. No. Be ambitious about the kind of problem you want to solve. You need to solve a very hard problem. When people's idea of charity giving back is, especially for the jackpot communities, that they come back home, they distribute spaghetti and rice, it's just such low effort, right? To want to actually do something meaningful to include others, right? It's an absolute necessity. It is an immediate need. But then you can apply yourself a bit more. The same way you'd apply yourself for your career or for whatever business idea you're building. When you think about social good and impact, give the same level of thought to it as well, the same level of seriousness. So do hard things. People that have money, they respect people that actually do hard things. You set out to solve a difficult problem. It is hard, but you've taken on that, you have that sense of duty and that burden to try to change it. So when you do that, right, it gives you a reputation as someone who has decided to tackle difficulty. Now, the next thing is understand the funding opportunities that exist in your own ecosystem. For me, it was chess. So I had to look at global chess organizations, global non-profits. For me, I had a personal bias. I can tell you from when we started Chess and Slums till now, we have never applied or gotten any international grant. And that was like a deliberate decision on our own end, right? Because we wanted to figure it out in other ways. Of course, 80% of it has been crowdfunded thanks to a lot of good people that I've seen here today that have donated to our cause. Some of partnerships with tech companies, Piggyvest, Flutterwave, they supported us, substantially over the years. But then, what you need to do, right, to ensure, because donations are not sustainable, right? If you go viral, people will donate. If you don't, you're left with the responsibility of the people you're advocating for. So it's to ensure that you're creating value. There's some benefit to marketing what you're doing at some level of cost marketing value to partners, especially to corporate partners. Everyone wants something out of whatever. As long as it makes them look good, you've created value for them. And if you can communicate that clearly in the way you storytell, right, they will support your cause because they're going to get that value out of it. Now, most people would want to partner with us at Gift to Chess and Slums because they know that Tunde has distribution. So anything Tunde sells or says, people would see it at the very least. And that has been our ultimate leverage. So just what I would say is build leverage, right? The world will be extremely unkind to you, and you're not going to make money, right? But when you build leverage, then the value that you're offering, even regardless of the social good you're trying to do, it becomes undeniable. And people see that. And when they see that, you will get the support that you need.
Great. Look at your neighbor and say, build leverage. Build leverage. Okay, so this is my last question before they come and send me out. I'm asking this question as Tunde and as Remi. Give us a random financial tip because this is NairaLife Conference. Okay, let me start. My random financial tip is that if you're a Christian here, when you remove 10% of tithes, remove 10% for savings. And generally, just always reduce your income by 10%. So if you're earning 1 million, assume that you're earning 100K and keep 100K somewhere. I'm also just trying to do it, so I'm not looking aspire to conspire.
My financial tip would be don't wait till you become a billionaire to try to change the world or to try to change someone's life. You know, I think in whatever success you have that is personal to you, I promise you that the most meaningful thing you would ever do with your resource is to help give another person just a sense of belonging or to just help uplift them. So just have a budget for that. And guess what? You might think it doesn't change much, but it actually does. It compounds over time. I started with just a simple chessboard because it was all I had, you know, but now that has evolved into something much more substantial. So, you know, while we're thinking about ourselves and our own personal success, let us know that, you know, our collective successes is the most important one for all of us to make progress.
Thank you very much. So don't wait till you become a billionaire to change the world. Are you ready now?
I think for me, it's building ownership of like something, and that's not like necessarily in business. It could be like the place you work, just like having this sense of ownership. For example, like if you're working in a tech company that is obviously like, you know, on the path to something, having some sort of like ownership in that place. If it's your own business, just building to like own something, because in my own opinion, like that's like where true freedom is. I mean, salaries are good and all of those things, but when you have like ownership of things, like that's where the true value is.
Ownership of things is where true value is. Have ownership. I think the crux of this panel is that we can do good and make money. Say we can do good and make money. Please, a round of applause for my panelists. Thank you very much for a good time.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the session. It's very impactful. First of all, my name is Favor Solulokwe Ostara. Thank you very much. When you were starting out, how did you balance putting your funds into your idea versus putting your money, like keeping money for yourself? Like, it gets to a point you put all your money into the idea and like there's no money to survive again. I'm speaking from personal experience, so to say. So how did you balance that? Like, how did you manage it? I mean, you survived this while your idea survived, right? So how did you balance that? Once again, my name is Favor Solulokwe Mustafa.
All right. Favor. Good question. I don't know. I don't think I'm the greatest person to give advice on this because I've done a lot of foolish things. I can tell you that in 2020, as of 2020, I had adopted 6 children from the program.
Father, big uncle.
Maybe some people know this, but I have. I'd adopted 6 kids that maybe during the project, they lost their parents or they were orphans. And they're like, okay, somebody has to step up for them. And I went from being their chess coach to actually being a parent. Now, the truth is, you know, doing a lot of good in the world is very synonymous with sacrifice. You're going to make a lot of sacrifices, I promise you, right? The ones that will be to your own detriment even. But you have to make room for that and you have to accept it. It's part of like the reality of doing anything truly remarkable in the world, right? Now, the second thing is I had a day job as a chess teacher. So between 2015 and 2021, before I stopped, I was everyone's favorite chess teacher across schools. I worked with a lot of schools, you know, during the week. So on weekends, I go to the slums to teach the kids. So it was like somewhat of a modern day Robin Hood story. So I had that going for me, right, to give me some soft landing, right? Then when at some point I decided, okay, I wanted to go all in. But then you need to have just something that helps you because you need the decades where nothing happens, right? There will be weeks when decades happen and you're the best thing after jollof rice. But in the dark, when nobody notices, and it is such a tragic thing in all my travels recently that like good work can go unnoticed for a really long time. That is the truth. You can do great work and nobody sees, nobody hears, nobody cares, right? But as long as you're convinced that it is an important thing to do, make all the necessary sacrifices for it. Because someday, you can now post the picture from 10 years ago and say, look at me, oh. At least you would think you would have earned the benefit of doubt of that, but maybe people still wouldn't care. But then, those sacrifices will count for something. And when it becomes evidence, people see that and people feel much more inclined to want to invest in your idea because you've paid the ultimate price for it. So as much as you want to sort of like, you know, cushion the effect, you know, you have to go all in. That's the only way to leave.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Just go all in, yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah.
My question is around allowing people see your vision and tapping into it. So I work with an NGO that we train marginalized people in sales, digital marketing, and tech skills, right? And because of I'm good in sales, but for digital marketing, I'm not so great there. Now I already have just facilitators that are my friends. But we're expounding. The last time we did 45 people. Now we're doing over 100 people. We need more hands. So how am I able to speak to professionals that would be able to do this job, right? Teach these people and give them enough value. And I do not have money to pay. So how am I able to do that? Next one for Emmanuel. So I have about 7 to 8, yes. It's not a question. So 7 to 8 blind people, physically challenged, right? And they are good and they need jobs. I'm reaching out to HRs. No one is answering me. So please, if you can help. Thank you.
Let's talk after. Thanks. Okay. Did you get his question and do you want to answer?
Yeah, so I'm a very big fan of like just finding communities that, sort of like have people that you're looking for. So if you're looking for people who want to be like volunteers for like things, like you need to look for like communities where people are looking to volunteer for stuff. So like maybe professionals that would want to like dedicate their time to things, right? Even networking as well. So if I was doing that, I'll probably just speak to Tunde as well, because I imagine that he has people who volunteer for stuff, and I'll just go to him and like, oh, I know you have volunteers. Do you want to maybe introduce me to people, or just have my name somewhere so if people who have volunteered for yours are looking for like additional places? So look for, communities. Like I like social media because of these things, because there will always be like groups of people that you can like connect with, reach out to. Don't be afraid to just like pitch people, like cold emailing and just like sending them like tons of things. Maybe one day someone will be bored on a Saturday and realize that, you know what, I should do this with my time, right? So you have to like just put like that vision of yours out there, but to people who are most likely going to connect with you. So for example, if someone is like working their job like Monday through Saturday and the only time they have to sleep on Sunday, like they're not really your target audience for like things like that. But there are people who have like time or who want to sort of like do things like that, right? I think the second thing about like also the blind people who are looking for jobs, I think the same thing applies as well. There are probably like communities, like schools or like just institutions that are looking for, things like that. So the first thing you have to do is do the job of like finding those people. And then it makes it easier for you to like sell what you're looking for to them.
Great. I want to add to that in 1 minute before it comes to snatch my mic. So I mentioned storytelling a lot, and thank God I asked you to ask a question. So he said that you don't have to be a billionaire to make impact. So if you're looking to volunteer your time, please meet him afterwards. I also think that storytelling your impact. When you say, just the way you told us now, you've done this, you've gathered 100 people, I want to be part of that, right? So it's very important that you're able to tell your story coherently and sell the impact of what you're doing. I was going to add something, but it's on my YouTube channel. So I have a YouTube channel, and there's a video on 10 lessons for funders. So if you're an NGO funder, go to my YouTube channel, Emmanuel Faith on YouTube, and watch it.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
I actually want to add something.
Okay.
So, for example, for companies, they are probably more interested in the skills that those blind people have, right?
Yeah,
So
like
you
the
really want to
value
put
they can
that
add.
out there. So, for example, like I'm always looking for ventilators and like texture techs. So if you tell me that, these people, they are tailors, like even though they can't see, but they can sew or they can do this, right? So putting like their skills out there would make people probably see the skills before they see like the other things.
Thank you very much. I hope you answered. Please,
Maybe a final thing. I'll say this. Look for missionaries, not mercenaries. Don't look for competent professionals at the beginning. Look for people that just believe in you. I think when you find those people, and they can be your friends. A lot of my friends that we started together, they don't even know what a chess pawn is. They don't know anything about chess. But guess what? Without them, there would have been no chess in Slum. So look for people that can be sold to your vision first. I think that the ones that you should let help you build the vision together. Then after some time, people would be, they want to look good, so they will come and, can I come? Can I visit? They want to take pictures and they want to come and help when it becomes popular to do so. But start with missionaries, not mercenaries.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for everybody.
Yeah.
Are we taking it?